demonstration for you of a summer rabbit. This is a local rabbit. It was slaughtered a couple days ago, and we are going to be putting it with some vegetables that are also local, some mini carrots, some baby leeks, some baby radishes. I also have some liver and blood sausage stuffed shallots, and we're also going to make a sausage using the belly flaps from the rabbit, and some ground pork, some raisins, and some green peppercorns. Now I'm going to show you how to basically debone a rabbit. It's very simple. We take our boning knife and we make an incision at the neck, right at the atlas joint. It's what holds the head of the rabbit on. I'll grab a plate here. We're going to take our scissors. We're going to open up the rib cage. The best thing about rabbit is you can butcher the whole thing at home. And now on the inside, we still have our heart, liver, and lungs. We're going to remove that. Beautiful liver. And the kidneys as well, and some of the kidney fat. Now I'm going to start taking off the belly flaps. Now what you want to do is, using your whole knife, cutting against the rib bones. It's very important to keep it intact. And I'm using gravity by pulling back on the skin and just letting my knife do the work. Now, you want to cut the other side of the forearm. And again, just using my knife, working it down. Now, on the inside as well. You want to try to get as much of the belly off as possible, that way you have a really large flap. Now, just using the tip of our knife, we can get right to the end of the loin section. This is one of my favorite ways to do rabbit. I enjoy trying to utilize as much as possible the entire product. And here we have one of our belly flaps. Now, I'm going to turn the rabbit around so that we're comfortable. And again, same procedure on the other side. Again, when you get to the bones, just go under them and cut down. This rabbit weighs around 1 kilo, 200 grams. It's a really great size for this procedure. It's very cost effective using it at home or in a restaurant setting. Again, we're taking off the other belly flap. And there we have the other belly flap. And this will be the casing for our sausage later. Now we're going to continue butchering our rabbit. We're going to take the legs off, the hind legs, basically make a cut on both sides, and then basically want to pop out the hip bone. This is the ball and socket joint, and you do the same procedure on the other side. You turn it over, and just like taking a chicken thigh off, you want to get that oyster and just run your knife back, and there you go. There's both of our legs. We're going to take off the forearms as well. And those come off the same way. Now, here we have our rack section and our loin section. I'm going to trim some of these bones off, some of the rib cage bones, and some of the cartilage off the top, just so we can see what we're doing better. All these bones are great for stock. In the dish today for the vegetables, I made a stock earlier with celery, carrots, some onions, basic mirepoix, and cooked it down with after roasting the bones. So right after the last bone, we're going to make an incision and cut straight through. We're going to do the same process at the sirloin section. These bones are a little harder, so a little more pressure is needed. Again, here's our loin section. Your loins and your tenderloins on the inside. Okay, this we won't be using in the dish today, but it's great roasted whole. Little olive oil, salt, and pepper, and you roast it in a pan. It's very delicious. The rack section. So, I'm going to remove the neck. Now, if you look right in here, this is the vertebrae, and right in between the vertebrae is where we have bone marrow tissue, and we're going to run our scissors straight through that. Again, this is what I was telling you about rabbit, is that it's great because you can butcher it at home. You got to find that hole and just keep going forward. You could also split this with your knife. Good pair of scissors are really key in doing this. And this is just to break the initial vertebrae bones. So, you want to get your knife in there and break straight through. Now we have our rack. Hello, welcome back. So we've put away our rabbit, and I just wanted to show you what I did with the rack. Here, I've taken it and with a paring knife just cleaned up the bones so they look really nice. I've cryovacked it and added a little bit of smoked olive oil and regular olive oil, some salt, a bay leaf, and a half clove of garlic and thyme. And we're cooking that over here at 55 degrees Celsius for about 40 minutes. So now I'm going to show you how to do the stuffed belly. In Spanish we call it a bocata, which is like a sandwich in a sense, where you have the two bellies and the filling in the middle. It's kind of where the idea came to me. So we put in our pork meat, and this is 50% fat and 50% lean meat. And what we want to do first, these are the ingredients that are going to go into our sausage, is work the meat. Protein has a structure that's called myosin, and myosin is what helps us basically keep a solid sausage. If you've ever seen something like a meatloaf or a meatball that just disintegrates when it's heated up, the myosin protein was not developed. And basically what I'm doing is just working it so that it begins to become sticky. That's the myosin protein coming out. And if you see in the bowl, you can see how it's starting to get sticky. Okay? And now what we want to do is add in our raisins. We have some green peppercorns here for a little bit of heat. This is chives and thyme. And some orange zest. Gives us a little bit of lift. And acidity will cut some of the fat that we have in there. Again, we want to work this so we have a homogeneous mixture. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt. Season our force meat a little bit. And this we're also going to cook under vacuum at 55 degrees Celsius again for 40 minutes. And I feel that this is the best way to cook any kind of sausage without adding any nitrates. I'm not a big fan of nitrates. I know sometimes in commercial industries we have to use them, but I try to abstain from doing that. And that's what sous vide cooking really gives you, is the opportunity of keeping color in protein without adding any additives to it. So we take our bellies, and we line them up. so they overlap. Now we're going to take our force meat and put it inside. If you have any force meat left over, which sometimes does happen, you can easily roll it up in a plastic wrap casing and poach that as well. If you don't have the ability to sous vide, you could easily poach it in 55 degrees Celsius water. And you see what I'm doing here is I'm pushing it down because I want it to be flat. I don't want this to be round at all. So I keep rolling it up, and when I get to the end, I trim the plastic wrap, fold under, and then this will be put into a sous vide bag and cryovac. Now I want to talk a little bit about the vegetables that I'm putting with this dish. We have some great local farmers that are really proud people, and I'm always very big on trying to support local agriculture. And here at Martin Bersategui, we do that very often. A lot of our menu changes are based on a lot of seasonal product. And here we have some beautiful seasonal vegetable right now in the summer. Here's some baby carrots, some baby leeks, some baby radishes, and some shallots. And what I did was I took the livers of the rabbit and sauteed them with a little shallots and white wine, and then took a morcilla sausage, and what that is a blood sausage that has rice on the inside of it. It's put into a pig bladder and then cooked. So I made a force meat with that and added in the sauteed livers, pureed it, and passed it. So that's what we have here. And what we do is, it's kind of a, I guess, a upscale restaurant trick, but we take the shallot and we take the outer caps off and we poach them. And then you basically just simply take the piping bag and fill it. Same thing over here. If you don't get it all in on one side, you just flip it over and continue filling. And then what we want to do is just poach them slowly, and those are our stuffed shallots. So now we're actually going to start moving towards putting the dish together. Another component of the dish is a leek and almond puree. The puree was made with just leeks, sweated leeks, shallots, a little bit of cream and butter, which always makes things better. And we pureed that, passed it, and we have it in a seafoam, which is right here with 2 charges. So we're going to take our rabbit belly and our loin out of the machine. We're going to open the bags. These bags kind of, with the cooking time, tend to stick together, so here's our belly. So again, we want to unwrap this guy. Just cut the tips off, it's much easier. Scissors. So here we have our belly sandwich. We're also going to take out of the bag the rack of rabbit. And as you can see, the bay leaf, the thyme, the garlic, and then the oil. And what we want to do is, I'll just dry it off a little bit. Now we can discard. And then the belly, we want to take a section out of it. And we kind of cheat a little bit because the ends normally don't look as pretty. And if you look at that, it's a beautifully cooked force meat. And then we're going to take a small section, and that's going to be our sandwich. We're going to reserve that later for cooking. So now we're going to begin with actually cooking the dish, and we're going to start by heating up our rabbit stock. Kind of reduced it a little bit. And this is where we're going to heat all of our vegetables. Okay? We also want to get our large saute pan heating up for the cooking of our proteins. So, we also have some wild mushrooms here. We have some chanterelles, some black trumpet. They all come locally, and these are the ones that are in season in this area right now. To add to the dish, I wanted to use part of the liver, and this is the brain. Some people may be finicky about serving the brain. I find it to be a delicacy, very delicious. So I've included it as well in the dish. So now our stock is coming to a simmer. And as soon as it reduces slightly, we are going to add in our vegetables. The vegetables are partly blanched. I did that so we didn't have to cook it too much longer, and it's much easier when we're about to plate food. So the next step is going to be preparing ourselves for the plating of the dish. So we want to try to remove everything. It's very important to be prepared, and I think that's what the success of any restaurant is being prepared and always working very, very clean. So, we're going to bring out our plate. So now we've reduced. Now we're going to add in our vegetables. Starting with our mushrooms. And we're going to let those cook down, poaching in the stock. Take a little bit of olive oil in the pan. We're going to let that get hot. Now we will need a small cutting board to do the final slicing on the meat. So we want to set that up. And again, it's all part of the mise en place. Take our brains, move them over as well. Get rid of that. We're going to need a slicing knife. So I haven't added any salt to this, and the reason why is because the stock already has enough salinity to it. We're going to add in the rest of our vegetables. The last thing we'll add is the shallots, because the shallots don't need to be cooked any longer, they just need to be reheated. So now we have our pan nice and hot. We're going to put in our sandwich first, so we can get a nice sear on it, and the rack as well. And if you rest it on the side of your pan there, it'll be the best way to mark it. Again, we're not trying to cook this. We're just trying to get a nice sear on the outside. We're trying to get that Maillard reaction. We're going to take our belly out. Now we're going to add our liver, our brains. Turn the heat down slightly. Now we can add in our shallots. Beautiful sear. Same thing on the brain. And the key here is allowing everything to rest. Plate. We have our vegetables, which are beautifully glazed. Now we're going to add a little knob of butter. And what this does is it builds an emulsified sauce so that our vegetables become very glossy. There we go. Now we have our glaze. We're going to bring our vegetables over. Okay. Now, to start plating, first thing I want to do is extract my foam, my espuma. So we're going to take some of our almond and leek puree. We're going to put it down on our plate. Now we're going to take our lamb belly. And basically what I'm trying to do is just really highlight all of our beautiful vegetables that we have. Some of the radishes, some more beautiful wild mushrooms, and these delicious tender leeks that we have. Now we're going to put some of our liver on the plate as well. Just 2 slices. And then our brain. And again, the key here is just making it very symmetrical. I know we have some beautiful garlic flowers in a range as well. And then some baby spinach.
Los tambores brillando.